Good evening and welcome to the Making the Most of Year 11 presentation. My name is Mr. Milne and I'm the head of Year 11. You'll hear from me in this presentation and also other key members of staff who are supporting your child's journey through Year 11. I would like to start by looking at where we are now. Over 60% of GCSE course content has been covered in your child's lessons. There are just 141 teaching days remaining, so it's really important that we maximise those to make the very most of the available time left to us. And lastly, we're 3 out of 5 terms completed, meaning students are really coming towards the end of their journey through their GCSEs. When we look at the timeline for the academic year ahead, what we see is that time is really quite precious. Our period 6 sessions for Year 11 began on Monday the 13th of September, and it was really encouraging to see so many Year 11s taking full advantage of that offering. In October, our tutor review meetings are due to take place, where you'll have the opportunity to speak to your child's form tutor about their progress. In November, we're running our first full mock exam series of Year 11, where students will have the opportunity to sit their exams in the real full environment. In December, we have both our mock results day for Year 11 and also our parent consultation evening, where you'll have the opportunity to again discuss the progress of your child with your child's subject teachers. In February, we're running our second mock exam series, and this is the last one before the real assessments begin. And in April, those practical assessments begin with the full GCSE exams commencing in May. When we look at those 141 days that we have left, it's really important that we make sure that every lesson counts. As such, we expect 100% attendance from students in Year 11 because more time that they spend in lessons gives them the greater chance of getting and securing the best grades at the end of this year. Similarly, punctuality is incredibly important so that students don't miss any learning time. I expect students in Year 11 to arrive at their lessons ready to learn and with a positive work ethic for the tasks that are in front of them. And as part of that, I hope that they ensure that their homework is completed to a high standard. By taking pride in their work and completing it to a high standard, they are further supporting themselves to achieve at the end of this year. And wrapped up in all of that really is this concept of respect. Respect both for themselves and for their opportunity to take their exams this year, but also the respect for each other in the classroom, which is why I insist that Year 11 minimise disruption to learning as much as possible. It's important that Year 11 take advantage of both the guided revision that we will be helping them with, but also their own independent revision. This can take place at home, but it'll also be taking place in their lessons, in those period 6 sessions after school, and also in tutor time sessions, which are specifically targeted to help students to understand best revision techniques and also to look after themselves and their own well-being to make sure that they are coping with exam-related anxiety and stress. It's important that students take full advantage of the offerings of revision that we have on offer, such as GCSE Pod and Hegarty Maths. These two fantastic resources are useful for students. GCSE Pod gives them the opportunity to watch short instructional videos which are specifically about the content that they will be covering, whereas Hegarty Maths gives them the opportunity to practice the skills that they will need in their maths exams. We also have our internally produced revision guides, which each department has made, providing students with specific revision guidance for that particular subject. The Year 11 mock exam series serves 2 important functions. The first is to prepare students for the real exam by familiarising themselves with the environment and also the processes that they will be going through. The second is to give students that real-time feedback about how they're doing at a particular moment in the course. And it gives students the opportunity to reflect and improve upon their work to again secure their best possible outcome at the end of Year 11. To tie in with this and to support students in those mock exams, we really are encouraging our new period 6 sessions. These replace the previous intervention sessions that we've held for Year 11 students in the past, which used to run sort of over 5 days, both lunchtime and after school. We've condensed those into 3 after-school sessions on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday. On Monday and Thursday, students will be studying maths and science, and on a Wednesday, they'll be studying one of their option subjects, which will rotate on a termly basis. These sessions are incredibly focused on exam technique and content queries and provide an opportunity for students to spend more time with those subject specialists. In these sessions, what do they receive? Well, like I said, firstly, that time, that 12.5 extra days of learning that they wouldn't have if they didn't attend. Quite frankly, it must be said that students that attend more and who do more and spend more time with subject specialists do better in exams at the end of Year 11. We're providing students with small refreshments at each of these sessions. We're aware that it's extra time that they're not used to, and so we're happy to provide them with a snack and an opportunity to refill their water bottle so that they feel energized going into these sessions. They can ask their subject teacher for feedback and look at specific exam guidance. And also in these sessions, they'll be receiving those regular updates on their academic progress to again keep them on track so they know exactly where they are and where they need to be aiming for. How can you support at home? Firstly, please do take the opportunity to speak with your child about their learning. It's true that when somebody is asked to explain something or they're asked to teach it to somebody else, they have to think about it more and they have to synthesize and understand that content even more. So do please be willing to be taught by your child. It will give them the opportunity to synthesize and learn and revise that knowledge in their mind. Please do also encourage them to make best use of GCSE Pod and Hegarty Maths and those other revision resources that I mentioned. And please do help them to stay organised by sitting down with them to plan their revision and their homework and making sure that they balance that with their downtime so that they are spending time going on walks, doing exercise, spending time with family. It's important that there's a real balance here. As part of that balance, we really do recommend students take regular study breaks when they're working at home, roughly 20 to 25 minutes of study, followed by a 5-minute break, followed by another 20 to 25 minutes of study is really the best way to break down their revision. As part of this as well, this in school, this work hard, play hard attitude, we have a rich extracurricular program that students in Year 11 can take advantage of throughout the week at break and lunchtime and after school on Tuesday and Friday. We also have lots of rewards for Year 11 that we're keen to give to them throughout the year. So do please encourage your child to continue working hard and getting those achievement points. The more achievement and house points that they receive, the more rewards they will gain. And lastly, looking ahead towards the end of the year, we have our Leavers celebrations and our commemorative items to commemorate the journey that our students have been on throughout their life at Longsands. And I look forward to sharing with students the opportunity to reflect and celebrate their successes as they have gone through their time at Longsands. Lastly, thank you for listening. If you have any questions or queries, please do not hesitate to contact us. If you have any everyday queries, please do send those to the inquiries email address. That way it can be directed towards the most appropriate member of staff. If you have a specific query for me, please do not hesitate to contact me. My email address is there. And lastly, if you have any exam-specific queries, please do not hesitate to contact Mrs. Carpenter, our exams officer. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Miss Fox, the Head of English and the Assistant Principal responsible for literacy development. I'm just going to talk you through some key updates and reminders about Key Stage 4 English. So all students study AQA English Language and AQA English Literature. These are two separate GCSE qualifications, although lots of the skills do overlap, and students have 5 hours a week of English lessons. It's really important that both in lessons and outside of lessons, students are developing their familiarity and their knowledge of their GCSE literature texts, and also that they're thinking about them and developing their own ideas, because that is ultimately what the assessments at the end of the GCSE are assessing. And I'm going to talk in a minute about some ways that students can do that outside of lesson time. A really key part of what we do in English lessons is periodically having extended writing practice in timed conditions. This might be 20 minutes of a lesson, just practicing one question from an exam paper, or the whole lesson working on a longer essay style question from a literature paper. And the purpose of this is to help students build up the stamina that they need for writing at length, and also just to support them in getting used to writing and putting their ideas on paper in timed conditions. So it might be that students receive some individual feedback and marks for that piece of work, which will tell them in advance, or it might be that we use it to inform our teaching and do some whole class feedback. So I just wanted to signpost you to some excellent resources which we find really helpful for students in their kind of revision and support with English, and just some additional support that's available. So starting with literature, Doddle is a really fantastic resource for us for literature. Teachers will often set Doddle quizzes as homeworks to check the understanding and to remind students of things that have been taught in lessons. It's really important when students are doing those quizzes that they aren't clicking over through quickly the additional information. There's lots of brilliant pop-up textbooks on the quiz with additional ideas, key quotations, and if students are fully engaging with it when they're doing the quizzes, it can be a fantastic educational resource. Another resource that we've found particularly useful for literature and that students really seem to have taken to is GCSE Pod. The short videos on key themes, key characters and plot points, and just key kind of information about the GCSE text that they study are really helpful for students just to do some quick revision on any particular aspects that they're less certain about. And again, if they can be doing that interactively, so perhaps writing down 3 key ideas on a post-it note, or have their copy of the text to annotate as they're watching, that can make the revision even more effective. The best revision resource is the actual book itself. So if we're revising Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet, the copy of Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet that they have with their notes from class and the actual words themselves is really the most important form of revision. So that might look like rereading an act or a scene or rereading a section of a novel, perhaps part that they're less familiar with. So that's really important. So when students are revising for English literature, we really want to see that they have their copy of the text with them. And then another additional way to support students' understanding and familiarity with the text can be to watch adaptations. So for most of the text that we study, there is a film or TV adaptation for that, which might be something that you could do together with your child, is to watch an adaptation, and your child's English teacher might be able to point you in the direction of some specific adaptations of the text that would be good to watch. Moving on to English language, Miss Gray, who I will mention again at the end of the presentation, has developed an excellent resource in the Key Stage 4 recommended reading list. These are student recommendations, so Key Stage 4 students have recommended books that they really enjoyed reading that they think that their peers will also enjoy. Any wider reading that students do and reading for pleasure will massively support their English language skills. Another thing that students can do to revise for English language is creative writing practice using any images or paintings, photos as a stimulus for creative writing. And in general, reading a range of fiction and non-fiction texts is a really important way of students being prepared for their GCSE exams. So that might be reading magazine and newspaper articles, perhaps a magazine on something that they're interested in, a sport or a hobby or an interest. Likewise with blogs, reading blog posts on topics that they're interested in. And biographies and memoirs as well. So we find that students do tend to be, on the whole, slightly less familiar with non-fiction text formats. So there's just 3 examples of things that you could encourage your child to read, which would develop their English language understanding. And then finally, I just wanted to introduce you to Miss Gray, who is our Key Stage 4 English Coordinator. Her email address is there on the slide, and you can email her with any English questions or queries about either of the GCSEs. Thank you for your time this evening.
My name is Julian Merson. I'm Assistant Principal in charge of Assessment and Moderation. Firstly, I would like to talk about homework arrangements for students in Year 11. As in previous years, we use Doddle to record all homework tasks, and we encourage parents to log into Doddle in order to monitor the homework being given. Students should expect weekly homework in each of their subjects. As they progress through GCSE courses, they should expect to increase the time devoted to their studies. Whilst tasks routinely take around an hour to complete, it isn't unusual for some to stretch beyond this. The key thing is that homework is a really important means for reinforcing the learning that takes place in lessons. The biggest contributing factor to improving outcomes is the amount of time spent working. We talk with students about a healthy approach to this. Students should mix their studies with plenty of downtime. This will become increasingly important as they move into key assessment periods, such as the mock exams, and beyond into their GCSEs proper. Any specific queries about homework tasks should be raised with the subject teacher. Following last term's Year 10 mock exams, students have 2 further sets of mock exams in Year 11. The first of these take place in November, and the second set take place in late February, early March. We think of these as really important milestones, key rehearsal points in preparing students for the real exams next summer. As with previous years, parents can expect to receive 3 progress reviews. The second of these reports on outcomes from the November mock exams and is followed by the Year 11 parent consultations, where parents have an opportunity to talk with each subject teacher. The results from the second mocks in March are reported home before Easter. I hope this information is useful. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions about assessment processes during the coming year.
Hello, my name is Mr. Martin. I'm the Head of Science here at Longsands. My email address is on the screen. Please feel free to get in touch if there's anything I can help you with throughout the year. I wanted to start by talking about the GCSE qualifications and options at Longsands. For GCSEs, the exam board we use is AQA, and in terms of routes for GCSEs, there is what historically been known as double or triple science. Triple science with the new GCSE is actually referred to as separate sciences because you will get a separate GCSE for each subject. So one for biology, one for chemistry, and one for physics. Double science equates to 2 GCSEs. You do study all 3 sciences, but there's some bits of content that you wouldn't study in double science that you would in triple science. Within double science or combined science, there's a route of synergy and trilogy. We follow the trilogy specification, which is by far the most popular route across the country, and it suits our timetable and our subject expertise at the science department at Longsands very well. I just want to spend a little bit of time here just making sure there's no I'm making it very clear that the perception that potentially is out there that double science or combined science is a lesser route is not the case. There is the obvious difference that triple science you get an extra GCSE as opposed to double science, which is only worth 2. However, in terms of academic rigor and challenge and the need to have a strong understanding of science, that goes across combined and triple science. So if there are any perceptions that double science or combined science is lesser, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time just to reassure parents and students that it is a very valuable qualification doing combined science. And in terms of often students think they need to do triple science in order to do A level. That is not the case, and actually in some instances it might be an advantage to do combined science because it would be potentially easier to get the grade needed to do A level science versus triple science, because you'll have, and this is where Longsands is a little bit unique, or certainly in the minority. Your double science, if you're doing double or combined science, just like triple science, you will have a specialist teacher for each subject. So you will have a biology teacher, a chemistry teacher, and a physics teacher, whether you're doing double or triple. And that is not normally the case in the vast majority of schools around the country. And you'll also be given the exact same amount of lesson time across the year 10 and year 11. So you'll have the same number of lessons. If you do double, you'll have a little bit less content to learn and a little bit less to revise, obviously, as well. So they're the key differences. But just to reassure, combined science is definitely a very valuable and rigorous qualification in GCSE. So in terms of fulfilling our motivation of getting the absolutely best outcomes for our students, our lessons and the homework that students are expected to do will obviously be a key part of that. But another massive part of that is that revision that they do themselves independently on top, and that should be happening on a continuous basis, not just cramming before exams. It should be continuous, and of course in the lead up to crunch times in the year it might peak and then level back off to a normal sort of level and then peak again, but it should definitely be continuous all the way throughout the year. I'm not going to spend time talking about all of these resources, but they're all there and they're all recommended, and if you've got questions about them, please speak to your teacher or email me. I'll be happy to give you some more information. Our recommended revision guide, we'll put a letter, and that will be on parent pay for you to buy at half price, and it comes definitely recommended. A plea for me as a physics teacher for all students to make sure that they learn their physics equations. The difference between knowing these and not knowing these can be as much as 2 or 3 grades of difference just based on this alone, because it comes up a lot, especially if you're doing a higher tier combined or higher tier separate. If you know these equations, you can pick up big chunks of marks, and really your grades will reflect that. The flip side is if you don't know it, you're probably going to be down 2 grades on where you really should be by learning these equations. Use the 23 equations app to test yourself on remembering them and using these equations. Caboodle is a massively useful resource. It's got lots and lots, hundreds if not thousands of different resources, but crucially it's got a digital copy of the textbook that we use in school. So it's really important. Make sure you know how to log in, make sure you know how to navigate the website. If you're unsure, please ask your teacher, please ask me, and make sure you're getting the most out of that really useful resource. And finally, just a quick recap for setting you off on the right start to this year. You should be continuously revising, and it will intensify at certain points, but you should have a base level where you're doing a continuous amount of revision each day. You should buy and crucially use the revision guides. Not much good if you don't use them. There is free resources that are available online, including resources that we as a school have paid for, such as Caboodle and GCSE Physics Online. Make sure you learn your physics equations, and when you're revising, make sure you are being an active learner. You're not sitting in your room copying things out from the textbook or just reading. Your mind will not be focused on the task. Practice questions, get them wrong. If you don't know them, that's fine, get them wrong. Check your answers, see if you can see where you're going wrong, and then get help if you can't. That is a key thing. So practicing questions, checking your answers. If you get them wrong, that's actually fine. That's a good thing, as long as you're then proactive and getting help with those, and your teachers will only be too happy to help. And if there's anything else I can do, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Kate Martindale and I'm the Careers and PD lead. I'm just going to talk you through the support and the guidance that we've put in place to ensure that your son or daughter makes a successful transition onto a post-16 pathway. We want students to ensure that they've done the following things thoroughly, and of course you can support them to do this. First of all, they need to make sure they've investigated all of their options. These are sometimes referred to as pathways. So rather than just thinking they're going to do one particular thing and then not look into the others as well. They need to ensure when they are finding out about different options, whether that be different courses, different places where they can study, that they're getting that information from impartial and balanced sources or from experts about those pathways. And I'll talk to you in a moment about how we can ensure that they are going to impartial, unbiased sources. Third on the list is the idea of broadening horizons. We want students to consider all of the pathways and maybe to investigate ones that they know less about so that they can ensure that they've looked at everything. Having said that though, it is important that students make realistic choices. So they do need to think carefully about where they are currently at, what are their predicted grades, and what would be a realistic option for them. We don't want them to waste time pursuing unrealistic choices, or alternatively to be disappointed at the end of a course to find out that they can't take up a route that they want to. Very briefly then, what are the routes? I'm sure you are aware the options available to students are one of the following: a full-time course at a school sixth form or at a college or another type of training provider, an apprenticeship or a traineeship, which is a step towards an apprenticeship. The other option is a full-time work or volunteering, which is combined with part-time education. That's a less popular route, but it's still available. So any student who wants to do full-time work must ensure that they are enrolled on at least a part-time education or training course. So they shouldn't be going into full-time paid work solely. That isn't actually allowed under the Raising Participation Age. So just to finish then, let me give you some ideas about what students should be doing at the moment and how you can support that. For all of these, more information will come to you in the form of a letter from myself, and also information which will be uploaded onto the Academy's website. So that is actually a very good place to start. You'll find there a thorough description of all the routes, additional information, as well as other useful websites which I've signposted and added hyperlinks, so you can have a look at those. And there's also some guidance which has been written specifically for parents. So let me just take you through these then. First of all, I wrote home in the summer term of year 10, introducing you to a platform called My Choice 16. We've asked all students to simply start by setting up their profile. So if you could support by just making sure that they've done that. Any issues with the login, it can all be reset by the student, so they don't need to come and find me. They should be able to reset that themselves. But if there are major problems, then please do ask them to come and find me. Now, there are no applications, please, until after October half term, so they shouldn't have tried to apply via the platform. and any students that have, their application will simply be sitting, it's called on hold, so we might send that back to them. So try to avoid applying anywhere, just simply setting up the profile is enough. The next one then is to use Unifrog. Now Unifrog is a careers platform. There's much more information on the website about it, and I'll also write home again just introducing you to the system. Students are already set up on the system, and the information on the site will help them to look at different options. They can also search for careers linked to the subjects that they enjoy, and they can also do searches based on their interests. So that's a really good site to become familiar with. You can access it from any platform. Finally, try to get students to have a clear plan of what they want to do, and we'll help to support them by giving them lots of information and advice. We'll encourage them to go on open days, and you can do the same thing. And if they still need guidance, then we have a support package in place from a company called Form the Future, who will be providing one-to-one guidance meetings. They'll be in the academy 1 day a week. And if you would like to request that your son or daughter has a one-to-one guidance meeting with our guidance advisor, then please feel free to email me directly and request one of those. Alternatively, Form tutors will be putting forward names for students that they feel would benefit from those interviews. So there's plenty in place to support students. And as I said at the start, the aim is making sure that they make a really successful transition into a post-16 course. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Margaret Carpenter and I'm the Examinations Manager. I manage and organise all of the internal and external examinations and testing for Longsands. Most Year 11 students will have come across me in one way or another during the past 4 years, and I'm sure have also experienced the exam conditions in the sports hall, although the last 2 years have been rather different from what we would normally expect. The GCSE and vocational courses that the students are currently undertaking are all 2-year courses and lead to various qualifications. So each of these has got its own particular specification and types of units. So some, for example, will have exams only at the end of the Year 11, such as maths, and others will have exams throughout the course. So some of your students have already taken, for example, Year 10 exams in BTEC Sport, construction, health and social care. And when in this case, sometimes a student is offered a chance to resit to make their grade better. Now, last year, of course, we had very few external exams and teachers gave teacher assessed grades for these units. So most candidates will be offered the chance to increase that grade. Many subjects have a coursework component, and sometimes this is in one large piece of work, sometimes it is smaller pieces which add up to a whole, and these will be completed at particular stages depending on which course is being taken. So for example, for BTEC Sport there may be videoing of matches. For art, the coursework forms part of the final examination, and for construction there are 2 modules of coursework which form part of the final exam. The Year 11 take mock exams in November, and this is for several reasons. One is to check the progress and how much work has been covered and has been taken in by the students, and whether some of it needs to be gone over again. Should also give students experience of exam conditions, and we will run it as a proper external exam with invigilation and all the other arrangements we normally use, and some of these will be mentioned in the next slide. The mock exams also give students a chance to get their strategies for revision organised and to find out which suits them best. Students will have spent a long time getting prepared for their exams, and it's just as important that they come prepared with the correct equipment with which to complete the exams. So all the equipment needs to come in a see-through container, which could be just an ordinary transparent sandwich bag. We need to see what's being brought into the exam room. This will include black pens. Exam boards now scan the papers in so they're marked online, and lighter coloured pens just do not show up. So black pens are a must. Other equipment that is essential, things like protractors and compasses, not just for maths but other subjects. Graphs need to be drawn and so on. And especially important is the calculator, which every student should already own. And these are needed not just for maths, but also for all the sciences, for geography, for business studies, for construction, and so on. And especially for maths, which uses the statistical calculators, we have a very small number of really basic ones in case of emergency. If students have particular needs in the exams environment, we hopefully will already know this, because this will have been picked up by teachers during the course of your students' work at the school, maybe even as early as year 7 or 8. But sometimes we are not aware of some particular needs in exams. So it's very important that myself and Mrs. Martin Morales Asenko are alerted to any particular needs you feel your child has for exams that have not already been flagged up. Sometimes if it's for example, extra time or scribes or readers, we need to test for eligibility, and we need to actually get permission from the exam board. There are of course lots of other circumstances in which the student might need some assistance in exams, so it's really important that we keep the communication channels open. I can be contacted at any time by email, as can Mrs. Martin Morales. Now, in the exam hall itself, watches of any type are not permitted. It's very difficult to work out whether a watch is a smartwatch or not, and so the exam boards have decreed that no watches are allowed. And we do have large clocks visible, particularly in the sports hall on the front and the sides, and every room will have a clock in it. No electronic devices at all are allowed in the exams room, and particularly mobile phones, which if they are found in a student's pocket before, during or after the exam, will mean that student is disqualified from all their exams. So please emphasize this with the students, that they are not allowed. This is because they could be used for cheating, or even they could disturb other candidates if the phone went off or an alarm was set, and so on. As I've mentioned already, please contact me should you have any queries about exams. Thank you.